Hello, friends, and welcome to Advent at St. Andrew. It is my privilege to welcome you here today from the beautiful St. Andrew Sanctuary. I'm grateful, as always, to share this sacred online space with you, where we are all invited, included, and valued as vital and beloved members of our broader worshiping community. The Advent and Christmas season is full of anticipation, waiting for the arrival or advent of Jesus, the long-awaited Messiah. It's also a time of reflection in our personal lives, with our families, and as we examine our faith. The traditional themes of hope, peace, joy, and love guide our path to walk through this season with compassion and kindness for ourselves and for each other. This year's St. Andrew Advent giveaway is a special weekly download featuring original prayers, scripture readings, and musical offerings reflective of the Advent season, all of which are read by members of the St. Andrew community. This weekly devotional will immerse you in the unique themes of Advent and prepare your heart and mind for the wonder and mystery of Christmas. You can listen by going to gostandrew.com/devotional or through the new St. Andrew app, where the episodes will automatically appear each Saturday. We hope that you can join us in the many ways we will connect, whether in joy or with the sadness that this time can bring, and build community with one another and our neighbors throughout this season. St. Andrew is proud to be an open, affirming, inclusive congregation that welcomes all people into the full life and communion of our church. This includes saints and sinners, believers and skeptics, the lost and the found, the wanderers and the wanderers, families of all shapes and sizes, and people from every point along life's journey. No matter who you are or where you've been, no matter what you believe or even if you believe anything at all, you are welcome here and you belong here. If you have any questions about our church, prayer requests for our care team, or if you would like to get in touch with a member of our pastoral team or staff, please email info@gostandrew.com. If you would like to explore deeper engagement with the St. Andrew community through our many classes, group life gatherings, and service opportunities, you can email us directly at connect@gostandrew.com. We'd love to hear from you. Just as a reminder, our full Sunday morning worship services, complete with prayer, music, announcements, liturgy, ministry spotlights, and the sermon, are live streamed on our YouTube page each week and permanently archived for viewing anytime. Lastly, to contribute a financial gift to the work and ministry of St. Andrew, you can always visit gostandrew.com/give or text St. Andrew to 28950. And now, let's listen together to this week's scripture and sermon.
A reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 1, verses 46 through 55. And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Saviour, for he has looked with favour on the lowly state of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. Indeed, his mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has come to the aid of his child Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and to his descendants forever."
If I asked you to name some of the favorite songs on your Christmas season playlist, you know, the songs you might hear on the radio or a television commercial or while Christmas shopping at the mall, I'm guessing you could come up with at least a few. Maybe that overplayed, annoying earworm of a song by Mariah Carey, or that old dreamy classic by Bing Crosby, or one of those catchy 1980 hits by Wham or Band-Aid or the Eurythmics. We all have our favorite Christmas tunes. But did you know that people have been singing about Christmas for thousands of years, even long before the first Christmas actually happened? None of those songs ever made today's airwaves, but they were recorded in our Bible, and they're some of the most revolutionary and hopeful songs ever written. They sing about a Messiah who would come to a people living in fear and darkness to redeem and redream this broken world. None of those songs ever made the top 40 charts back in their day, if only we had Taylor Swift back then. But today, they're more relevant than ever before, because the world they speak about wasn't much different from today's world. They speak about a world in turmoil, and a people desperate for peace, and an ever-faithful God who will not rest until all creation is finally redeemed. We heard one of these ancient songs read today. It's sung by the most unlikely of performers, a girl named Mary, who, at the time, is pregnant with a child whom she will name Jesus. And her song pierces the darkness of her world and ours. But before we get to her song, we should probably correct some common misconceptions about Mary. Centuries of paintings and sculptures and Hallmark greeting cards have mostly depicted Mary as beautiful, regal, and demure. We imagine her as a cross between an oil of Olay model wrapped in a bath towel and a younger Martha Stewart type wearing an apron and holding a hot glue gun. You know, she's elegant and refined, yet crafty and handy around the house. But there's really nothing outwardly lovely or remarkable about Mary. She's an unskilled, uneducated girl, probably around 14 years old maybe. A nameless, unheard of nobody. She's a child in a grown-up world. She's a girl in a man's world. Nobody outside her village knows she even exists. And her village is so insignificant that the world doesn't even know it exists. Mary's unlikely story and her extraordinary song are maybe reminiscent of that modern-day Susan Boyle story and her song. Do you remember Susan Boyle? In 2009, Susan Boyle was this unknown, unassuming 47-year-old karaoke queen who appeared as a contestant on the reality TV show Britain's Got Talent. When she walked on the stage, this plain-looking Scottish woman seemed totally out of her league. The audience sneered and whistled catcalls. Her appearance on the show almost seemed like a joke. But then all at once, she brought the house down as she launched into her dream, her song, I Dreamed a Dream, from Les Miserables. You know, I dreamed a dream in times gone by when hope was high and life worth living. I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. That song, it turned out to be a performance for the ages. In fact, it's been viewed 260 million times on YouTube. Boyle became an overnight global sensation, going on to produce 7 albums. She later revealed that she had suffered a minor brain damage at birth, and she wanted others to see that they shouldn't let a disability stand in their way. She said, I want to turn my disability into ability. This unknown, unassuming, mildly impaired, middle-aged woman captured the hearts of millions with a song about a dream. I dreamed a dream in times gone by. You can almost hear the faint echoes of another song about another dream from another unlikely woman, this one named Mary, centuries earlier. Only this Mary is more like a girl. And this girl is pregnant. And this is not super great news for her or her family. She's engaged but not married. She has a mysterious encounter with an angel who tells her she's been chosen to conceive and bear the Messiah, and that her pregnancy has been caused by God's Spirit. Mary, to our surprise, says yes to the whole divine plan. Let it be with me, she says, according to your word. But then reality sets in. How will she break the news to Joseph? What will she say to him when her belly begins to swell and he knows he's not the father? How will she explain all this to her parents? Can you imagine? Mom, Dad, Joseph, Joey, I have a little something to tell you. Don't freak out. It's not how it sounds. It's, what's the word? Complicated. Yeah, it's super complicated. Wow. How do I say this without sounding completely crazy? I had this dream the other night, and there was this angel in my room, and God somehow got involved. But don't freak out because God's totally cool with all of this. But I'm pregnant. Mary knows that nobody's ever going to believe this story. And so she runs away. In fact, in the original Greek, it says Mary actually sprints to the home of her relative Elizabeth. So much about this story seems so unbelievable, but isn't that part of the story entirely believable? A frightened, confused teenager runs away, searching for acceptance and understanding in someone she trusts. That someone is Elizabeth, and Elizabeth doesn't judge. She takes Mary in and says, "Blessed are you among women." It's a moment of pure grace. No judgment, no questions, just love and acceptance. So Mary stays with Elizabeth for 3 months. But first, Mary has this song to sing for us. Her song is known as the Magnificat, named after the Latin word which begins her song, "My soul magnifies the Lord." In the song, she dreams a dream too. But instead of dreaming of times gone by, she dreams of a future world that's suddenly breaking through. A new world that she's birthing with the birth of her own child. But her song is not a sweet lullaby. It's actually super edgy, like Joan Baez kind of edgy. Listen to these radical lyrics. She says, "He has scattered those with arrogant thoughts and proud inclinations. He has pulled the powerful down from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He's filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich empty-handed." I'm pretty sure you'll never see those words on a Hallmark Christmas card because it sounds like a radical manifesto about politics and economics and revolution and the redistribution of wealth. What in the world is Mary singing about? 2 things. First, her song is saying that when God's redemption comes to the world, it comes to those who are poor. Yeah. Oscar Romero, the martyred Archbishop of El Salvador, he once said, "No one can celebrate a genuine Christmas without being truly poor. The self-sufficient, the proud, those who, because they have everything, look down on others, those who have no need even of God, for them there will be no Christmas. Only the poor, the hungry, those who need someone to come on their behalf will have that someone. And that someone is God, Emmanuel, God with us." Romero was saying that only those who've experienced poverty can receive redemption. And I don't think he meant poverty strictly in terms of having no possessions or wealth or social status. Look, God doesn't play favorites based on our net worth. God doesn't glamorize the poor or demonize the wealthy. God knows you can be a poor jerk just as much as you can be a rich one. Even Jesus, by the way, had wealthy friends. He gave wealthy people a tough time, not because they had money, but because they loved their money more than they loved God. Some of his best friends actually were wealthy people who were also generous. People like Joseph of Arimathea, for example, who loved Jesus so much that he donated his own tomb for Jesus' burial. But still, we all know this one truth, that only those who've experienced some kind of real poverty in their lives can be truly open to receiving what God longs to give them. Maybe poor people like Mary are just more inclined to know what they really need, and maybe rich people are not. Maybe when you have wealth and power, it's tempting to believe you have everything you need, or if you don't, you still have the necessary means to get it. But when you're poor, your need is real and obvious to everyone. And this is how poverty can be a lot more than simply a lack of wealth. Because we can suffer from an impoverishment of love or acceptance or peace of mind. We can be poor in spirit and faith and hope, poor in compassion and mercy for others. We can experience the poverty of soul, the poverty of conscience, or of community, or of friendship. This is why in the Gospels, have you ever noticed that the people with the real problems are not the obvious sinners and thieves, adulterers and prostitutes? They are a mess, don't get me wrong, but Jesus forgives and restores them because they're honest about their needs. But throughout the Gospels, the people with the real problems seem to be those who can't let go of their money or their grudges or their rules or their status. Those who believe they do not need forgiveness or grace. We all have needs that we alone cannot fill. We all experience emptiness or impoverishment of some kind. But our culture insists that our needs can be met if only we can earn enough or buy enough or get enough or become enough. Mary's song is saying that those who are empty will be filled because they know that the world can't ever give them a sense of enoughness. Beginning around the 3rd centuries, many Christians retreated to the desert to live a monastic life, away from the busyness and distractions of the world. They became known as the desert fathers and mothers. And they told stories to pass on their collective wisdom from the desert. In one of their stories, a young emperor comes to visit an old monk in the desert. The emperor ordered his entourage to wait at a distance, and he approached the monk's cell alone. He removed his crown and hid it, and then knocked on the monk's door. Opening the door, the monk immediately recognized that it was the emperor standing right before him, but he pretended not to know. He welcomed the emperor as a fellow hermit. They prayed and sat together. The emperor looked around the cell and saw nothing except a small basket containing bread. The monk said to him, "Eat." The monk dipped the bread in water, poured oil and salt on it, gave it to the emperor, who ate it. The monk gave him water, and he drank. Then the emperor asked, "Do you know who I am?" The monk replied, "God knows who you are." The emperor then identified himself, and the monk bowed in homage. And the emperor said, "You are blessed because you do not have the cares of this world. I was born to kingship, and the affairs of my empire are as constant as a concern to me as it could be." He said, "Each day I dine on the richest meats and drink the finest wines, and yet today, mere bread and water has satisfied me as no sumptuous feast ever has." And then the young emperor marveled and went his way. A simple tale. But it reminds us that sometimes what we fill ourselves with does not satisfy the emptiness we feel. And sometimes we know the real thing when we finally find it. Mary sings about redemption that comes to those who are empty enough to receive it. A poverty of body or spirit or both that says, I need grace. I need God. But there's something else about Mary's song that's so relevant to our lives today. It's so subtle that you might have missed it. But did you notice that her song that she sings is all sung in the past tense, as if it's already happened? He has scattered those with arrogant thoughts and proud inclinations. He has pulled the powerful down from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty-handed. She's singing about a world that no one can see yet. And yet she sees it all so clearly, like it's already happened. Given the state of her world, what she sees is deeply prophetic. Her people have been living under military occupation for a whole generation, enduring brutality and hungry babies and humiliation and hopelessness. And they wonder every day, how can anyone believe in a God who allows us to suffer like this? What's the meaning of life? After 40 years of wondering if the day of justice would ever dawn, Mary says that day is finally here. The lowly are lifted up. The hungry are fed. Mary sees and knows what only God sees and knows, that there's a hidden realm behind the kingdoms of this world, a divine reality unfolding behind our known and visible reality, where God is at work creating a new world. And this new world grows in Mary not only as hope grows in the human heart, it grows also as a child in her very womb. It's so easy to grow hopeless or cynical when we look at the world's problems. But Mary knows that history belongs to those who can see what others cannot see, who seem to know a secret others don't know. That God's not done with us yet, and God is not done with our world, and redemption is coming. So maybe the only question is this: will we, like Mary, give birth to that new world, or will we just be midwives and handmaids to the broken world we already have? Did you know that cuckoo birds are the most notorious scammers on the planet? For 2 million years, African cuckoo finches have been tricking other birds into raising their young by mimicking the color of their eggs. Cuckoo finches look so cute with their little yellow feathery suits, but their charming appearance belies their nefarious nature. Cuckoos are total scam artists. They will stealthily lay their eggs in the nests of other bird species, where unsuspecting foster parents treat those eggs like their very own. But here's the real kicker. Cuckoo eggs seem to hatch a little earlier than other species, allowing the chicks to grow quicker and to beg more loudly for food than the other chicks in the nest, which will then often starve to death as their confused parents prioritize the cuckoo imposter. Thinking about cuckoos, maybe Mary's song raises a crucial question for all of us. What kind of world are we incubating and birthing and fostering and perpetuating? Is it God's new world or the imposter cuckoo's world? The mystic Meister Eckhart once said, "We are all meant to be mothers of God." What good is it if this eternal birth of the divine Son takes place unceasingly, but does not take place within myself? And what good is it if Mary is full of grace and if I am not also full of grace? And what good is it for the Creator to give birth to His Son if I do not also give birth to Him in my time and my culture? The takeaways for today. Poverty is where God enters in. History belongs to those who can see what others cannot see. And we're all meant to give birth to Christ in our own time and culture.